Good thing that I'm not playing Usnavi anymore. If you look at the Pirawa guy and squint, he kind of looks like Hamilton. But
he's got a hell of a beard, though.
It can't be him. It can't be him.
We're going, we don't need roads.
Mr. Miranda, good to see you again, sir. How are you?
Hi, Jake. Good to see you again.
Congratulations on this, man. I'm obsessed with this film, and I was always obsessed with you, man. So seriously, thank you for your time, and I'm going to jump right into it. So much of this story is not just about dreams, but how our dreams change as we get older and progress in life. I'm curious, now that you have achieved so much, from this show to Hamilton to movies, how have your dreams changed? What's the difference between what you were dreaming of when you were 19 and writing this show versus what you're dreaming of today?
Oh, that's a great question. It's funny to mark it in terms of this show in particular, because all I was dreaming when I started writing this was a life in the theater. I wanted to be in musicals, and I wanted to be a part of musical theater, and I didn't see a way forward for me. And In the Heights was my way of sort of attacking that with everything I had. It was my first attempt at writing a full-length musical, and then that grew and changed as I began to work with Tommy Kail and Alex Lacamoire, and most importantly Chiara, who started co-writing the show with me in 2004. And again, like mission accomplished, right? Like here we are talking, and I've been lucky enough to have a life in the theater, which has been one of the great joys of my life. And the unintended ripple of In the Heights has been a life in the theater for so many other Latinx actors and performers, and the movie is sort of the ultimate example of that, right? Like this is a movie full of movie stars, some of which you have heard of, some of whom you have never heard of, but again, like the fact that it kicks open the door for so much more talent to walk through makes me really, really proud, and is sort of the priority.
It's a beautiful film in every way, and that way being maybe near the top of the list. There's a really fun moment in the movie where a character is on hold on the phone, and you can softly hear "You'll be back" from Hamilton, which in my mind means that Hamilton exists in the same universe as In the Heights. So do you think anyone ever looks at Usnavi or the Pedago guy and thinks like, you guys look like those actors that are on stage on Broadway right now doing Hamilton?
Well, yeah, I mean, I thought about that, right? That again, the hold music playing "You'll be back" means that there are livery cab drivers probably driving community members to performances of Hamilton. And again, like good thing that I'm not playing Usnavi anymore. If you look at the Pirawa guy and squint, he kind of looks like Hamilton. But
he's got a hell of a beard, though.
It can't be him. It can't be him.
Speaking of Hamilton, I have to ask really quickly, and I know you talked about this extensively when we did press for Hamilton last summer, but now that we have seen one of your projects and what it can be when it's translated into the big screen, naturally, we're all going to look at Hamilton and go like, is it next? Or, and I know you've sort of been hesitant to sort of talk about that, but I'm sort of curious. We're at this point now, and people are going to ask about it. Have you been thinking about it any more since last summer? And then I'll push you even a little bit further and say, what is the one number that you would be most anxious to see how it would be translated to on the big screen?
I don't know. It would take a director with vision on the scale of a John M. Chu, who had an enormous vision for In the Heights. I mean, the things he's doing in this movie, we could never have done on stage at the Richard Rodgers. We don't have a pool that big. We can't dance sideways up the side of a building the way.
Not with that attitude.
Yeah, no, not with this attitude, right? So again, like I would kind of throw the gauntlet down of like, all right, who's got the vision of what a Hamilton adaptation would even be? I've gotten my wish, which is that everyone can see it in the form in which I wrote it, and Tommy Kail directed it. Tommy made an amazing movie out of that. So it would take a lot. Again, like I'd be curious to see what the hell Guns and Ships looks like in a live action movie, but like a live action, like we were animated. Yeah. Again, I'm like using the binary. My kid is so used to seeing live action and animated versions of every movie now that he does movies with his dolls that he calls the animated versions, and then he makes us play the dolls. and we are the live action version.
Maybe he's the director in the making that's going to do this.
It could be. You might have to wait a while.
I got to say, I think one of the massive takeaways from In the Heights, at least it should be, is how important neighborhoods like Washington Heights are. Here in Chicago, we have a beautiful, thriving Puerto Rican community, which is where you and I first met for the first time, Mobile Park. It's one of the most vibrant, beautiful places in our city. Can you talk about the importance of a city not just having these neighborhoods, but us helping them thrive, us helping them succeed so that they continue to sort of exist and are able to sort of give back everything that we love about them?
Yeah, diversity is what makes our cities and our neighborhoods special, and not just racial diversity, but economic diversity, every kind of diversity. When you are taking that train, whether it's your train in Chicago or my train in New York, and you see every kind of citizen, it just makes for a richer world. It's a richer world you're living in. And I'm crazy about the Puerto Rican community in Chicago. We were welcomed there with such open arms when Hamilton came there. I love going to visit Billy Ocasio's Puerto Rican Museum every time I go. And again, the other thing that's poignant about watching this movie is it was filmed pre-pandemic. So you see the neighborhood, playing dominoes out in the street. We're hugging and kissing and dancing and all the things that we have not been able to do for the past year and change. And so it's a poignant reminder of the ways in which communities can gather when they feel safe doing so.
And it's a beautiful thing. Honestly, seeing this on the big screen just kind of made me feel like, okay, we're back. We're almost back. As we wrap up, going home is such a huge part of this story. And I want to talk about not only whenever you were able to go back to Puerto Rico, but you were able to bring these shows with you. Bring this show, bring Hamilton, and you're standing on that stage and you have the Puerto Rican flag with you. I am an overly sentimental person. Ever since I turned 30, I cry at everything. So I get emotional thinking about that moment for you, even though I didn't live it. Can you just sort of talk about just kind of how poetically full circle that moment felt, or am I grasping at straws?
No, you're not grasping at straws. In fact, I mean, I don't know that we'd have brought Hamilton to Puerto Rico if we hadn't had such an emotional, triumphant experience bringing In the Heights to Puerto Rico. We were the first equity tour ever to visit Puerto Rico. It's expensive to put those sets on boats, and what was in one of the reviews, and I can't even think about it without crying, but one of the reviews, I think it was from the newspaper Claridad, wrote about the show in their review, "This is a dispatch from our families who left." And I can't even talk about it without crying, because that's exactly what it is. It is we are the kids of the folks who left the island, and this is how we've been living. That's what the show is, and it's about how we honor where we came from, what we take with us, what we pass on to our kids. And again, home becomes a very slippery definition when your parents are from somewhere else, and everyone defines it differently. And that's really what the show explores in ways big and small.
I'm going to cry. You're going to cry. We're both going to cry in this interview, man. Hey, dude, seriously, I got to tell you, it's always an honor to talk to you. One of the great sources of pride in my home is that I have this from our first time together. And so many people ask me, do you know Lin-Manuel Miranda? To which I reply, yes, I do. So if anyone ever asks you, do you know Jake Hamilton? Just for the love of God, just lie,
You have an alibi in me, Jake.
My man, I appreciate it. So good to see you, sir. Bless you and your family, man. And I hope next time we're together is in person.
All right, Jake. Thanks.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.